I think the Micro-B is probably one of the best mini cars that you can buy for racing in tight spaces, but there's definitely ways that we can improve the car to make it more durable, to give it more adjustability, and of course to make it a whole lot faster. So today we're going to go over some of the upgrades for the Micro-B, and at the end, we're going to take some of these upgrades and put them on our car. Now for what upgrades are available, checking out the Micro-B category at AMain Hobbies, there's a lot to choose from. But we'll start it out with the vinyl chassis protectors, which are great to use to cover up the aluminum chassis, which is pretty easy to scratch up, and it'll stay new and fresh looking with one of these vinyl wraps over there. And depending on where you race, they may require one of these chassis protectors. An upgrade bearing kit is also a great thing to add when you get the car or just down the road when you need more bearings. These are all rubber sealed bearings. It's a pack of 14 and they should work good to keep dirt out and keep you rolling smoothly. Aluminum parts. There's quite a few to choose from, and both Losi and Next Racing offer some. Now with the Losi aluminum parts, you can get the aluminum caster blocks. There's also the front steering carriers and rear hubs, and they use the stock bearing sizes. These parts also conveniently include new screws and then ball studs. For the steering parts, Losi offers up the steering rack, the servo mount, and a one-piece aluminum servo horn. And if you add those parts together, it should help tighten up that steering system. Now also, there's the Next Racing parts that are also offered in a red anodized as well as a black. And Next Racing offers the front suspension arms and the rear suspension arms, and they include different outer hinge pins because they use a set screw to secure that pin in place, a little different than stock, and there is an Allen wrench included for that set screw. Next Racing also offers the black and red anodized caster blocks, the rear hubs, the steering spindles, and these parts do not include the hardware or ball studs like the Losi aluminum parts do. Now for carbon fiber, there's fewer options, but there is the front shock tower, and Losi offers a front carbon fiber shock tower with the hardware, and Next also offers a carbon fiber shock tower but without the hardware. Now shocks are another great upgrade for racing and to add tunability, and both Next and Losi offer shocks. Now with the Next shocks, they're a full aluminum threaded body, aluminum top cap and bottom cap. They come in a set of 4 and they're available in a blue anodized, red, and also black. And in that pack of 4, 2 of the shocks are going to be shorter than the others. Those are used in the front. And of course they come oil filled and ready for you to install. Now with the Losi shocks, they're offered in a 2-pack, and they offer a front set and then a rear set, and they have aluminum threaded shock bodies but then a plastic top cap and lower cap. Now right now AMain Hobbies only has the front shocks available. The rear shocks we have on order and are hoping to get soon. Now one thing to keep in mind with these shocks is how they attach to the vehicle at the shock towers. The Losi aluminum shocks are going to attach using the stock ball stud, but the Next shocks attach with a screw that's included with the shocks. Now another interesting upgrade are the adjustable turnbuckles, because the car only comes with solid links, and these turnbuckles come with the ball ends and 6 turnbuckles. These ball ends come in a short and a longer length. Now they're not assembled like the picture shows, so you have to assemble them yourself, and they're also not notched to give you a thread direction indication, so you just kind of have to pay attention when you assemble them and try to put them on the correct side so they're all consistent. Now for tires, there aren't really many options, but HackFab is offering foam tires. It's a pack of 4 and they say they're great for carpet use or other similar surfaces. They come assembled so you can just bolt them on and go. For body options, it's kind of a similar situation. I'm sure more options will come out down the road, but for right now, the lead finger retro mod body is gonna be one of the main options. And this is an old school buggy style body that places the cab more rearward and should give you more clearance for your electronics back there. This body comes clear with a wing, and you have to cut it out and paint it yourself. Now to go with this body, Leadfinger offers an alternate top plate that moves the position of the ESC more rearward, so you have clearance for that ESC and then all the wires in the cab area. There's one more really cool body option though, and it's the HackFab EDM body that is like a modified dirt oval inspired body that comes in 2 different thicknesses, and it comes clear and you'll have to paint it and assemble it, but it looks cool, it's realistic, and it should be great for those guys who want to do some bumping and rubbing in dirt oval racing. Now, for more batteries to increase your runtime, EcoPower just came out with their 30C 2-cell LiPo battery that has the correct connector, and it drops right into the battery box for a direct fit. Now, for those who are looking for more power, Furatech has released their Grasshopper brushless system that includes the ESC, a wireless programmer, and a 9500 kV brushless motor with an installed pinion gear, which should be significantly faster than the stock brush setup. This system will leave you less a receiver, but if you own a Furatech transmitter, Furatech sells a receiver you can add to the buggy, or they sell the transmitter and a receiver together for like $40. Which is not too bad and will just connect right into the system. Now, if you want to gear up the motor, whether the brushed or brushless, most of you know it's not possible with the stock motor mount with fixed holes. So instead, Furatech offers this upgraded steel motor plate that has notched holes to allow you to move the motor position to use bigger gears and then set your gear mesh yourself. Now, the last upgrade is going to be for racers who want to precisely log their race data and can be used pretty easily, and it's the lap monitor transponder, which will plug into the car. It plugs directly in to the Furatech receiver actually, and this system will log your data, your laps, your times, and it transmits to the timing system that's sold separately, which makes all this data available to you on your cell phone. These transponders will work in the Micro-B, and they also work in the Mini Zs, but this system in general is a really great, inexpensive way to precisely log all your race data, and it's a must if you just want to take your racing to the next level. Now, at the time this video was filmed, that's pretty much the upgrades you're going to find at AMain Hobbies, but the car is still so new that there will be tons of other upgrades, I'm sure, that'll come available down the road. Now, as for our upgrades, we decided to add quite a bit of things to our car, and we started off in the front end. Now, first we started off with the Nex red aluminum suspension arms, and then we added the Losi aluminum caster blocks and the Losi steering carriers. Now, like I mentioned earlier, the Nex arms use a different hinge pin and then a set screw to secure them in. It's a pretty interesting setup, and we used a little bit of Loctite on that. But these arms have a nice finish. The hubs and carriers are also a really nice finish, and then they take up quite a bit of slop from the suspension arms. The tolerances are pretty tight, and it all fit together really nicely without any binding. We didn't have to do any modifications to it. Now, while we were doing this, we added the Nex screw ball studs, which we didn't mention earlier because we don't actually have them yet. They're still on order, but these ball studs have a hole in the top that's an 050, so you can easily install and remove them. Now, the package only includes 8, which may be enough for a car, or it may not be. Either way, these ball studs are really nice. Now, while upgrading the front end, we also decided to put on the Losi carbon fiber front shock tower, which is 2.5 millimeters thick, and when everything was assembled and put together in the front end, it was really smooth, it was really tight, and there was no binding at all. Now, on the rear end, we also used the Nex red aluminum suspension arms, which also use the same outer hinge pin system. And then attached to those arms, we added the Losi black hubs. And again, the tolerances were really nice and everything moves smoothly. Next is the steering, and we really wanted to tighten up the steering to do some carpet racing, which puts a lot of force on the front tires. So our plan was to use this NSDRC RS40 servo, and then we were going to use the Losi aluminum servo horn, the Losi aluminum steering rack, and then the aluminum servo mount. And we came across a problem. This NSDRC servo is actually advertised as working with the Micro-B. It says so on their website, but when we put it in the aluminum servo mount, it did not line up at all. It is too narrow in the ears and it doesn't work. And then when you put the Micro-B servo horn on it, it does not fit that servo spline, and the offset of the servo spline is just not forward enough for the steering rack. It didn't work. So you will not find that servo in the Micro-B parts category at AMain because we removed it since it didn't work out. So with our build, we still went ahead with the aluminum mount, steering rack, and that servo horn. Next are the adjustable turnbuckles, because these seem like a great thing to add for a racer. And these come with long and short ball cups. And in the front camber links, we used the long ball cups. And then in the toe and rear camber, we used one long and one short on each of those, and hopefully got the thread direction right because they're not notched. Now, one thing about these, they turn out really nice, but they're kind of tight on the ball studs, the next ball studs. So once they're assembled, the car actually binds up a little bit. The suspension's arms don't drop freely like they once did. And I'm hoping that as the car breaks in, those parts will just free up. Now the shocks are next, and interestingly, they both use a 6.5 millimeter 4-cylinder. Now because we use the Losi carbon shock tower, we use the front Losi shocks on the buggy, and then we put the next shocks on the rear. Had we have the rear Losi shocks in stock, we would have put them back there too. The Losi shocks are a little bit more expensive, but I like them just a little bit better, and I like that they use the ball studs to attach to the vehicle. Although you could argue that's less secure than using a screw. Now I think this is the first time we've used different brand shocks on the front and rear, but it looks kind of cool. Black shocks in the front, red shocks in the rear. Both shocks are pretty dang smooth, giving us threaded adjustability. I think it's gonna work out all right. Now the next thing we did is we added the lead finger upper plate so we can move the ESC towards the back so we can use the lead finger retro mod body. We also have the Furatech Grasshopper brushless system with the transmitter and receiver, which is pretty easy to install. We did not add the motor plate, although we probably should have. The gear mesh seems about right, but it does seem like maybe it's a little tight. Now we also added the EcoPower battery. It fits right into that battery box, no problems, has the correct connectors, fits good. And we also added an upgrade chassis protector sheet. These are already pre-cut to the right size of the chassis. You just need to take off the 2 screws to the front bumper, slap on that chassis protector, put the front bumper back on. Now out on the track, we drove the car in its stock form, and it's pretty slow with its brush setup. This is a big track, and it makes that car seem, well, a little underwhelming. After doing all the mods though, the car was amazingly fast. And if I pushed it a little too hard into some of the turns, it would traction roll. Now just for fun, we also picked up the HackFab foam tires, put them on the car and drove it on the track. They're for carpet, it says. And surprisingly, the car had so much more traction with these foam tires that we were traction rolling even more. So interestingly, for our setup currently on that carpet, the stock tires actually worked best. Those foam tires may work really good outside though, or for a speed run. Overall, all of these upgrades were pretty easy to put on. The hardest part about all of these upgrades and what we did to the car is probably just getting the body over all of the wires that are in there, because it does get kind of tight and cramped, but it is doable. Guys, go check out our links with everything that we put in our car and talked about in this video. I'm Brett from AMain Hobbies, and thanks for watching.